Right, story time, guys, and not the Instagram highlight reel version, the actual messy, what was I thinking version. Today, I'm going to tell you about my first investment property. Before you think this is going to be some inspirational tale of overnight success, it's not. It's the story of how I made pretty much every mistake you can make and somehow still come out on the other side. So why am I telling you this? Because I reckon you'll learn more from my failures than you will from someone's carefully curated success story. So grab a brew, get comfortable, and let me tell you how I absolutely bodged my first property investment. So there I was, fresh out of my lorry, bit of money saved up, little bit, ready to become a property mogul. And what did I do? I fell in love with the property. It was a lovely terraced house, quite big, great layout, nice street, pretty garden. I could see myself living there, which looking back should have been my first red flag. Because here's the thing, I wasn't going to live there. It was supposed to be an investment. But I got emotionally attached. I started imagining the kind of tenant who'd live there. I thought about how nice it would be. I let my feelings override my spreadsheet. And when I say spreadsheet, I didn't really have one. I had some back of an envelope calculations that were more wishful thinking than actual maths. And the rental yield? Barely acceptable. The cash flow after the mortgage and the expenses? Tight. I mean really tight. But I wanted it, so I convinced myself it was fine. Here's what I'd do differently. I'd run the numbers first, properly. Not, oh, it'll probably work out numbers, actual, realistic, pessimistic numbers. If a property doesn't stack up on paper, it doesn't matter how pretty it is. This isn't a romance, it's business. And I had to learn that the expensive way. Okay, mistake number 2. And this one cost me actual money. I underestimated literally everything. The refurb costs, I thought, ooh, it just needs a bit of paint and some new carpets. Yeah, turns out when you actually start pulling things apart, you find all sorts of surprises. Damp, dodgy electrics, bathroom that looked fine but was actually held together, I hope an old cork. The refurb budget, blown. Timeline, completely wrong. I thought it was 6 weeks, took 4 months. Void period, didn't even account for one properly. Maintenance cost, laughably optimistic. And here's the killer, I didn't even have enough buffer. So when things went over budget, I was scrambling, stressed, making decisions based on what can I afford right now instead of what's the right thing to do. What I'd do differently. Add 20 to 30% to every estimate, for everything. Refurb quote says 5,000, budget 6.5. Timeline says 2 months, plan for 3. Your tradespeople aren't trying to con you, well most of them anyway. Things just take longer and cost more than anyone thinks they will. And if by some miracle everything comes in on time and under budget, brilliant, you got extra money. That's a good problem to have. But planning for best case scenarios, that's how you end up crying in your car wondering how you're going to pay for the builder. Ask me how I know that one. Right, mistake number 3. And this one makes me cringe to this day. I was so desperate to get a tenant in, remember I'd already gone over budget and over time, that I basically accepted the first person who applied, which happened to be someone I knew. They ticked all the boxes, sort of, and they had references, kind of. They said the right things in the viewing, and I was so relieved to have someone interested that I didn't dig deeper. 3 months later, rent arrears, complaints from neighbours, and when they finally left, which took way longer than it should have because I didn't know what I was doing with the eviction process, the property was in a state. Cigarette burns, damage, dirt, it needed another refurb before I could let it again. And you know whose fault that was? Mine. Not theirs. I mean, they were rubbish tenants, but I'm the one who let them in without doing the proper due diligence. What I do differently is proper referencing every time, no exceptions. Don't care how nice they seem, don't care how desperate you are to get someone in, check employment, check previous landlord references, and actually call the references. Don't just take paperwork. Your tenant is your customer, yes, but they're also the biggest risk to your investment. One bad tenant can cost you thousands, actually thousands, in lost rent, damages, legal fees, in stress. So take the time to get it right, even if it means the property sits empty for an extra month. An extra month's void is cheaper than 6 months of problems. Trust me on this one. Mistake number 4, I was completely disorganized. I had receipts stuffed in drawers and the cup holder in my van. I had emails all over the place. I had no systems for tracking maintenance, expenses, nothing. When did I last service the boiler? Sometime last year, maybe. How much did I spend on that plumber? Let me find the receipt. It's definitely somewhere. It's an absolute shambles. And come tax time, oh yeah, that was fun. Me and my accountant having a lovely time trying to piece together a year's worth of expenses from scraps of paper and vague memories. But here's what nobody tells you. The administration of property investing is huge. You've got all tenant communications, maintenance records, financial tracking, insurance documents, safety certificates, inventory reports, deposit protection, and about a million other things. What I do differently now is set up systems from day one, even if it's just a simple spreadsheet and a folder system on your computer. Something, anything. Now I've got it all properly organized in a nice little neat CRM system. Took me long enough and it saves me so much time and stress. Future you will thank present you for being so organized, I promise. And your accountant will definitely thank you. Mine certainly does now compared to those early years. The last mistake, and this is probably the biggest one, I tried to do everything myself. I was determined to prove I could do it, so worried about looking stupid, so convinced I had to figure it all out alone that I didn't ask for help when I needed it. I didn't reach out to other investors, I didn't join any groups or networks, I didn't even tell most people what I was doing, because I was worried they'd think I was being reckless. And you know what happened? I struggled way more than I needed to. Every problem I had, someone else had already solved. Every mistake I made, someone else had already made and could have warned me about. I was too proud or too scared to ask. But what I do differently now is build a network from the start. Find other investors. Even if they're just one property ahead of you, they know things you don't. Join communities, online forums, local property networking groups. Not to find deals, although that might happen, but to find support, to have people you can call when something goes wrong, to learn from other people's experiences instead of having to make every mistake yourself. Property investing can be a very lonely place if you let it be, especially when things go wrong and you feel like you're the only person who's ever had a boiler break at 2 a.m. But you're not. We've all been there, and the people who succeeded are usually the ones who are willing to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know what I'm doing with this, can you help? Right? So there you have it. 5 massive mistakes I made on my very first investment property. I bought it with my heart instead of my head. I underestimated everything, didn't vet my tenant, I had no systems, and I tried to do it all alone. Did I still make money on that property eventually? Yes, but I made way less than I should have, and I had a much harder time than I needed to. If you're looking at your first investment property, or you've already got one, and you're making some of these mistakes yourself, don't beat yourself up. We all start somewhere, all make mistakes, and the key is to learn from them and do better next time. And hey, at least you can learn from my mistakes instead of having to make them all yourself, right? You're welcome. If this was helpful, smash that subscribe button. I've got plenty more property reality checks coming your way. Right, I'm off to check my property management system that Past Narelle really should have set up sooner. See you next time.